Hi, welcome to another episode of Mom Does It All. If you're looking for encouragement, empowerment, and uplifting in motherhood and mompreneurship, this is the show for you. I'm your host, Marta Spurk, triplet mom, certified success coach, and all things motivation extraordinaire. In this episode, I'll be talking about how I've literally learned to step into myself and my gifts. And that's why I've decided to open up my own school, the Empowered Woman School. And I want to invite you to be a part of it. Let's dive in. I feel like I have started so many episodes with so many things have been happening. I was going to press play and that's the first thing that came to mind. So many things have been happening. But it's true. And, things are always happening. But what I mean when I say that is that ever since I opened myself up to knowing myself and to going through this process of self-love and self-acceptance, which is what I'm teaching now, I have been more aware and I have been noticing things. And so it's like so many things happen for my greater good, and I just noticed things coming together and people mentioning similar things to me and giving me these signs and these messages that I have to follow a certain path. And especially with now working in Portuguese with my Brazilian audience with coaching, but all of my interpreting and having started doing that postpartum this year has brought me back to my essence and to what I used to do, to what I'm really, really good at, because I felt like I got a little bit sidetracked going the coaching route, but at the same time, I could connect it back to everything that I'd done before as a teacher, but it just felt really new and felt like I didn't really know what I was doing, even though it was related, but because it was a little bit different. And now I see everything coming together so beautifully. I couldn't have planned it better, but it's just because I am leaning into me. And it's just so beautiful that I am learning what being myself means and what being enough means. And I really feel like lately I've just experienced what it means to crack the code of be yourself. That's what people say all the time. Just be yourself, be yourself. And especially with me raising little kids now and understanding that they are who they are already and I haven't done anything to make that be, they just are. And understanding that that's what happens to all of us. And then throughout life, growing up, we kind of lose that essence because we get involved in so many things and life happens. But now that I have been able to get back to that essence, it is my duty to share this with other women so that they can share this with their kids. So that once they kind of lose that sparkle, I'm going to be right there to tell them, no, this is how you get back to who you are, because I have been able to do that. And so let me tell you a couple things, because I'm recording this bonus episode when I said I wasn't going to do 2 episodes a week, because I've decided to start something new and I wanted to fill you in and invite you to participate, of course, but I want to explain my thought process with all of this. And understanding that I am more than enough and who I am is amazing already. I don't have to go outside of who I am because I've got everything that I need inside of me. And I want to teach women that that's the same for them. But they have to figure that out for themselves. I can give them the tools and they have to do that themselves. And what I've understood reading Gabby Bernstein and Eckhart Tolle and, last week I had the amazing opportunity of going to this coaching group session in person with a life coach that I had already done, an individual lesson that was part of a coaching program that I took last year, starting in October, which was a business program, but of course, mindset is all interconnected. She lives here in Colorado, and I told her, whenever you have in-person events, let me know. So she did. She invited me. I went to, and one of the things that kept coming up was telling yourself, I love you, I love you, I love you. She had a mirror exercise where we looked at ourselves in the mirror and understood that we're not supposed to be criticizing and judging ourselves so much, but just being, because who you are is enough. Just be. And I've heard this before, but it just, sometimes it feels like you get things more than before. And then it's just those light bulb moments that those enlightenment moments where things just click and you receive that download and it just dawns on you. And I can say that I've had these moments before, when I was super involved in church and understanding certain messages, or even when I started learning music and playing the piano. Sometimes some things just clicked and I finally understood, oh, this is how I play this. And no one could have made that click in my brain. It just had to happen a certain way. Certain things had to align inside of me for me to come to that point. And I feel like this is what I'm experiencing now with my life as a whole, and with my business, which is all super interconnected. And so back to what I was saying is that you are who you are. Yes, how could you be anything else? But the difference is that as we grow, your ego gets in the way. And this is what so many, scholars and even coaches and people like Gabby Bernstein talk about in her material and in her books about how the ego is just this protection, this survival mechanism that your brain develops because we used to live in dangerous conditions in the woods with animals with imminent danger, and our bodies were created so that we could protect ourselves. And so that's what our brain and our mind does. And everything's so interconnected, like with releasing chemicals into your body so that you learn how to fear, so that you protect yourself. And thoughts do that too. Certain emotions happen involuntarily, just like your brain tells your body to breathe and you don't have to make any effort for it. Just like your body tells your heart to beat and you don't have to tell it that. It just does that for you. Your brain thinks for you based on past experiences. And just as a defense mechanism. And that's how your ego develops. It's just this alternative you that's not really you, and that gets in your way of doing things because it's actually trying to protect you. But most times it just does you harm because it keeps you from being you. And I feel like I was experiencing that, especially with the crazy transition of becoming a mom, moving back to the US, not really knowing what I was going to do with my life and what my purpose was besides motherhood. And now I understand that, who I am, and getting back into my essence and what I used to do has helped me so much with that. And that is why I have decided to open a school. And when I started talking about this, I revived so many memories inside me of when I went back to Brazil after being married for 3 years. And I was, trying to figure out if I was going to teach English, or then I went on to work for a company that helped Brazilians apply for American universities and all of the things. And in the meantime, my dad kept telling me, why don't you open a school? I can help you. Because he owns several office spaces that he rents out, and he has lots of properties. He's a businessman. And now, and this is something that has come up as I talk to different business coaches too, they say, when I tell them my story and how my family, my parents are entrepreneurs, my mom with being a pastor, my dad with being an entrepreneur, having his own company, they say you have to talk to them. You have to sit down and talk to them because they've been through this before. That's obviously where all of this desire for you to start your business has been coming from. And I've been connecting the dots, and remembering the story of him saying, I can help you with an office space. I have an accountant. Why don't you open up your school? And I was super resistant because I was like, I don't want to have my own school and to have to manage all the different things. I like tutoring and doing one-on-one because, we can reschedule easily. There's not so much paperwork and bureaucracy. And so I never went with that idea, but I kind of liked the idea, but I didn't like the idea. And now I see myself in the online space where things are a lot more accessible, where I can teach both Brazilians in Brazil and Americans anywhere in the world, or English-speaking people, Portuguese-speaking people anywhere in the world with the internet. And especially with this process of how once somebody finishes a program, it's like, okay, what am I going to offer this person next? What can I, give them in continuation to this work? Because this work really doesn't end, but this program finished. And so I kept having to create new things. And now, because I'm connecting back to my past of teaching languages, I'm seeing it doesn't have to end. I can just create new lessons weekly about self-development and even about a little bit of English in my Brazilian community because they're so interested in that all the time. And this is what I know anyways. And even thinking back to when I was so active in church and speaking in church, how every week or even a couple times a week, my mom would have to prepare sermons. And sometimes I would prepare sermons to fill in for her if she was traveling. And every week you just step on that podium to teach something that will encourage those people. And because you're doing that every week, there's not that much of a pressure of this one has to be amazing and earth-shattering because they're coming back to hear from you. So you just have to maybe talk about the same thing that you talked a couple weeks ago, but on a different light. And it's just a different way of encouraging people, and it doesn't have to be so complicated. I was complicating things, but that's how you learn anyways. And so that's why I've decided that I'm going to start this school called the Empowered Woman School, where I'm going to teach women how to empower themselves, how to love themselves, where I'm going to bring in experts, just like how I do with the podcast, to talk about different topics on a more deeper level than the podcast, because on the podcast, they talk about their story, they talk about how they got started, and we don't get, on a very deep level because that's something for people to go and look into that person's website, into their content online and figure out if that's what they want to continue on with. But inside the community, they can talk about a specific topic. They can teach on a specific topic and they can come back later. And so I'm just seeing all of this as an evolution, starting with the podcast and now understanding that this is what I have to do. It's weekly, but inside a closed community for paying members that are interested in evolving together. And another thing that happened recently that just, tied everything with a beautiful, beautiful knot is I've been getting calls more and more from different companies that sometimes are out of state asking me to do interpreting for Portuguese because, as I've come to realize, I'm the very only one that is a native speaker that does constant interpreting jobs. Some people do it. I've heard that there are some other Brazilians, but they don't do it in courts, for example, and their schedule is very limited. Maybe they have other projects. I'm not very familiar, but I'm pretty much open. The times that I don't interpret, I am working on my business on the computer, or I'm with my kids and with my family doing other stuff. But otherwise, my schedule's open for interpreting for whenever you need me. And so I'm pretty much the go-to for Portuguese in Colorado. And so the other day, somebody called me and said, I have an assignment. It's been really, really hard to find Portuguese interpreters. I found your name on the Colorado State Court's website. And I was telling them about my story. And he was like, all right, well, send me your resume and I'll let you know, because it's for an actual pretty long assignment for a couple weeks where it's in a different city in Colorado that they would pay for a hotel. It's something I've never done before, but it's super exciting because things are just happening and growing. And so I sent him my resume, and it was funny because as I was clicking to attach onto the email, I thought, well, I know I'm pretty much the only one that has been doing this. They will most likely hire me for this, but my resume is not the greatest. Like, that thought instantly came into my head. Like, I haven't done a whole lot of different, crazy, amazing, big interpreting things. I interpreted in church for like 10 plus years. That's where my experience comes from. But I have been growing and learning more as I'm doing it here in hospitals and schools and court. And that thought just crossed my head. And then as soon as the guy saw my resume, he responded back, great, impressive. And I was not expecting that. I was not expecting for someone that has been working in this field for years, based on our conversation, that he would look at my resume and think that it is impressive. And I had just second guessed myself and thought, it's not that great, but whatever, I'm sending it. It's what I have. And how many times don't we think about ourselves that way? We just think, well, I'm not that great, but whatever. That's not how it's supposed to be, guys. We're supposed to think that we're impressive, that we're great. And this is what all the exercises that I have taught in the Happy Mommy and the All of Me Loves of All of Me challenge is you understanding that you are enough, that who you are is amazing. That's why you get to be yourself. not as your ego tells you to be yourself with defense mechanisms that tell you to copy what somebody else is doing, to fit in, to be accepted, but to just lean into who you are and rest. Just rest in who you are, because it's amazing as it is. But you have to figure out what that is to actually appreciate it and love it. And that's where the self-awareness and this work of getting to know yourself is so important, because we don't give ourselves enough credit. We don't think we're impressive. Do you think you're impressive? Because that guy just told me that, at least in my professional career, I'm impressive, which means I'm a pretty impressive person in general, which means you are too. Regardless of what you have accomplished in your life, even if for you it's not that big, it doesn't matter. Who's judging? Who's keeping tabs to say that your life is amazing or not? You get to choose to see that it is amazing and to decide that it is amazing today. Nobody has to tell you that. And although it was great for him to give me that compliment, it just showed me that I don't necessarily need someone to validate me. But it helped me in that moment to be like, I am in my essence. I am doing what I'm really, really good at, which is teaching, which is empowering. And I don't have to try to be anybody else. And I posted this the other day on Instagram because that song by Colby Kayat, however you say her name, is really so powerful, that she says you don't have to try so hard. You just have to be who you are. You are enough. You are beautiful. You don't have to do anything to fit in, to be liked. You have to like who you are. Because if you don't like who you are, what does it matter? What does it matter if you, since you are you, and there's nothing besides you? You know, not thinking about your family, your husband, your kids. Nothing is attached to you. You are you. So if you don't like who you are, that's such a waste of life. You have to like who you are. And if you don't, then you have to get to know yourself so that you can see all the amazing things that you have that can be liked. And that's why I'm creating this school, and I want to invite you to participate. I will post the links in the show notes. I'll be talking about this on social media so you can join us. I am going to be offering a 2-week free trial so that you can participate in 2 different classes, plus all the material that it's already going to be there whenever you decide to try it out. And see if this is something that encourages you, that motivates you, that lifts you up, that you want to be a part of. And then if you do, you're going to be paying a monthly membership. And whenever you want to quit, you can quit, because it's just like a school. You go in there, you start learning. If it's not what you want, you quit. And you can even try it out for 2 weeks to see if that's what you want. And I'm going to be doing this in English and in Portuguese. And I am so excited because this came in just the perfect time, because I'm finishing up the Happy Mommy. I'm finishing up the challenge. And so this is the next step. The next step is, let's not stop, because there's no end to self-improvement. So let's just continue on talking about loving ourselves and learning to love ourselves. And let's teach each other, because that's the beautiful thing about a community. As you see and as you hear about somebody else's story, you're going to be encouraged and you're going to learn more about yourself. This sharing process is amazing. And it's not just for me to be talking, because other people are going to come in, and maybe even members. That's what I want to do, is have like a hot seat where some of the members can talk about their experiences and what has changed for them and what they've learned. So this is going to be amazing. And I am just so pumped because I don't see an end to it. And that's what's amazing, because sometimes when you see the end to it, you're like, okay, so what's next? There is no end. We're just going to be doing this ongoing, and it's just going to free so much of my time, because I'm just going to be preparing weekly, just like I had already done with the podcast anyways. So this is amazing. The Empowered Woman School is about to open, guys. It's going to open July 1st. It's just going to be kind of like a soft launch. And then I'm going to be doing the actual launch of it in August. But for now, you get to experience, the 2-week free trial. You get to get in and start with a very, small launch price, unless you decide to join in August after a while. But if you want to start up with us right away, of course, you're going to get the benefit of it with a smaller rate and with a free trial too. So I'm just over the moon because I am honestly living what I've been talking about, and I thought I was already living, but it just gets deeper and deeper and deeper. Like I said, it never ends, and it's just a beautiful process. Thank you so much for tuning in, because this means you're interested, you're curious in learning more about my school, as you should, because it's going to be epic. I truly believe that. Check out the link in the show notes for more details about the school, monthly fees and all, and don't hesitate to contact me if you have any questions or concerns. Until next time, bye.